The first scream wasn't from an alien, and that was what made the entire xenobiology observation deck fall silent in disbelief as Commander Illith of the Valoran Concord froze mid-lecture, his frilled crest flaring in alarm, while a massive shadow padded calmly across the polished alloy floor behind the human delegation. The Valorans had invited humanity to Gathric Station to explain their proudest achievement, galactic-scale prey domestication, and no one had anticipated that the humans would arrive late, flustered, and apologizing because their companion animal had slipped its harness and decided to explore. Dr. Maya Calder didn't scream. She sighed, set down her data pad, and called out, "Ash, heal," with the weary patience of someone who had repeated that phrase far too often in dangerous places. The shadow stopped. A creature the size of a ground transport turned its head, revealing eyes like molten amber, slit pupils narrowing as it focused on her voice. Muscles rippled beneath charcoal black fur lined with faint silver stripes, and a pair of curved bone spurs framed its jaw. Ash, designated Canis Draconis Terran variant in the Interstellar Threat Index, sat down obediently, tail thumping once against the floor hard enough to rattle the benches. The silence deepened into horror. "This," Illith croaked, mandibles trembling, "is an apex predator." Maya nodded. "Yes. A hypercarnivorous pursuit hunter," he continued, flicking through holograms in a panic. "Class 7 lethality. Teeth designed to pierce armored prey. Bite force sufficient to shatter bone plating." "Yes," she agreed again, distracted as she clipped Ash's harness back into place. "He's teething, though. Sorry if he drooled." Several Valoran scientists fainted. Only minutes earlier, Illith had been basking in admiration. His species had perfected the domestication of prey animals, soft-eyed grazers bred for docility, colorful avians engineered for song, gentle burrowers that responded to pheromone commands. The Concord believed this proved moral superiority. They did not enslave predators, did not flirt with extinction-level risks. Prey animals were safe. Prey animals were controllable. Prey animals didn't decide on a whim to see what their handler tasted like. Humans, apparently, disagreed. "You, keep it," Illith said slowly, pointing a shaking claw at Ash. "For companionship? For search and rescue, emotional support, hazard detection, and yes, companionship," Maya replied. She smiled, which only made matters worse. "He sleeps at the foot of my bed." Ash yawned, revealing 3 rows of serrated teeth and a forked tongue, then leaned against her leg with the trustful weight of a creature that believed the universe was fundamentally safe as long as she was nearby. The unusual situation dawned on the Valorans all at once, and panic spread like a chemical spill. Security drones activated. Force fields shimmered. A xenopsychologist began chanting calming mantras meant for stampeding herbivores. The challenge was immediate and existential. If humans considered that safe, what else had they normalized? What did they bring to shared stations, to mixed colonies, to war zones? Maya sensed the shift and raised her hands. "He's trained," she said quickly. "Extensively. Positive reinforcement. Clear boundaries." "Boundaries?" Illith repeated weakly. Ash lifted a paw and licked it. The stakes crystallized when the station's emergency AI announced, in a soothing voice, that all non-essential personnel were advised to evacuate due to the presence of an uncontrolled Class 7 organism. Red lights pulsed. Blast doors began to slide shut, directly between the human delegation and the exit. Maya swore under her breath. "Okay. That's not ideal." Ash growled, low and protective, stepping in front of her with instincts honed by millions of years of evolution that said enclosed spaces, flashing lights, and frightened prey meant danger. The growl vibrated through the deck, and several Valorans fled outright. Illith's crest flattened. "Your predator is agitated. He's confused," Maya corrected, crouching to meet Ash's eyes. "It's okay, buddy. No one's running. Well, some are. But not from you." The humor of the situation, the galaxy's most feared predators reduced to a human's pet, warred violently with the terror. Valoran doctrine taught that predators were chaos incarnate, forces to be avoided or exterminated, never befriended. Yet here was a human calmly negotiating with one using tone, posture, and trust. Illith realized, with a chill, that this was the real conflict. Not the animal. The humans themselves. If they could domesticate apex predators, what did that say about their psychology? About their risk tolerance? About the assumptions the Concord had made in welcoming them as junior partners rather than latent disasters? Dr. Calder, he said, forcing authority into his voice. You will secure the creature immediately or we will deploy tranquilizers. Maya stiffened. Do not sedate him. His metabolism reacts unpredictably to non-Terran compounds. As if on cue, Ash sneezed, accidentally igniting a brief spark as bioelectric glands discharged. A scorch mark appeared on the wall. The room erupted. Maya stood, heart pounding, aware that every choice she made now would shape humanity's reputation across the stars. She tightened Ash's harness, whispered reassurance, and looked directly at Illith. We came here to share knowledge, she said. You domesticated prey because you feared predators. We domesticated predators because we understood them. That difference matters. The blast doors locked. Security advanced. Ash bared his teeth, not in rage, but in defense. And in that moment, as fear, misunderstanding, and centuries of evolutionary bias collided, the Concord realized this wasn't a lecture anymore. It was a test of whether coexistence was possible at all, and whether trusting humans meant accepting that sometimes the most dangerous things in the universe sat quietly at your side, waiting for a gentle hand. The alarms did not stop, but they softened into a pulsing background thrum as the station AI recalculated threat probabilities and failed to find a category that fit a calm human scratching the chin of a Class 7 predator while armed security teams hesitated 10 meters away. That hesitation became the first real escalation, because fear was no longer theoretical. It was stalled, watching, deciding whether to run or strike. Ash's ears flicked independently, tracking motion, sound, and scent with unnerving precision. He could smell the adrenaline flooding the Valoran guards, hear the faint whine of power cells charging in their stun lances, and sense the micro-vibrations of drones adjusting firing angles. His tail lowered, body angling subtly to shield Maya without any command at all. That was when Illith realized the creature wasn't waiting to be told what to do. It had already chosen. This is exactly the instability we warned about, snapped Senior Ethologist Crix, his voice sharp as his chitinous mandibles clicked. Predators act on impulse. No, Maya said firmly, rising to her feet. They act on information. You're broadcasting panic on every channel you have. As if to prove her point, one of the prey species aides, a small, antlered drell, tripped while backing away. The sharp cry echoed across the deck. Half the security line flinched. Ash's muscles coiled. Maya didn't shout. She didn't grab him. She simply placed 2 fingers against the harness ring and exhaled slowly. Stay, she murmured. Ash froze. His gaze followed the fallen drell, but his body remained locked in place, quivering with restrained instinct. The drell scrambled upright and fled. A dozen Valorans stared in stunned disbelief. That, Maya said quietly, is training. But escalation has a way of ignoring demonstrations. The station AI, still bound by Concord safety protocols written by species who had never willingly shared space with a predator, advanced to Phase 2 containment. Transparent energy walls slammed down around the observation deck, sealing humans and Valorans together. Oxygen circulation shifted. Lighting dimmed to predator deterrence blue. Ash did not like the color. He let out a low, rumbling whine, claws scraping faint grooves into the alloy floor as he shifted closer to Maya. Across the room, several Valorans panicked outright at the sound. One discharged a stun lance accidentally. The bolt struck the floor, not Ash, but the crack of energy was enough. Ash barked. It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It was a warning, ancient and absolute, the kind that once echoed across Terran plains before cities, before stars. The energy wall flickered as his bioelectric field spiked in response to the perceived threat. Now the problem was bigger than fear. The station itself was reacting. Power fluctuations detected, the AI announced calmly. Containment integrity at 89%. Crix recoiled. Your animal is destabilizing our systems. Maya's mind raced. Ash wasn't attacking, he was mirroring stress. Predators synchronized with their environment. That was how pack hunters survived. She had trained him for earthquakes, explosions, battlefield chaos. But not for an entire space station screaming danger in frequencies only he could feel. We need to de-escalate the environment, she said, scanning the room. Lights up. Kill the alarms. Lower the shields. That would be insane, Illith hissed. So is cornering a bonded predator and threatening his handler. Maya shot back. You want him calm? Then you calm down first. For a heartbeat, authority warred with survival instinct. Then another tremor rippled through the deck as Ash's tail struck a support strut, accidentally denting reinforced alloy. Illith made his decision. AI, he snapped. Reduce alert status by 1 tier. Visuals to neutral spectrum. The lights warmed. The alarm softened further. Ash's ears slowly relaxed. It wasn't enough, but it was working. New complications arrived in the form of data. Concord analysts, monitoring the situation remotely, began flooding the deck with projections of human history, predators wiping out colonies, megafauna extinction events, simulations showing worst-case scenarios if humans lost control. The holograms surrounded Maya like accusations made of light. You see? Crix said. Your species has a pattern of unleashing what it cannot fully control. Maya laughed once, sharp and humorless. You're showing selective history. Show them the other side. She tapped her wrist console, overriding the local feed with her own archive. Images bloomed, humans guiding blind dogs through ruined cities, massive predators curled around children during bombings, Terran war beasts refusing to advance because a handler was wounded. Apex predators choosing restraint. Choosing loyalty. Ash looked up at the images, head tilting, recognizing shapes and tones that matched his memories. Training fields, shared meals, nights sleeping beside humans who trusted him with their lives. This is creativity, Maya said, voice steady despite the pressure crushing her chest. We didn't dominate predators. We partnered with them. We changed ourselves to be worth their trust. The biggest difficulty wasn't Ash anymore. It was convincing an entire civilization that control didn't always look like cages and pheromones and genetic dampening. Sometimes it looked like sitting unarmed beside something that could kill you, believing it wouldn't. The energy wall flickered again, but this time, it stabilized. Ash lay down. The sight hit the Valorans harder than any roar could have. A Class 7 predator, voluntarily prone, back exposed, breathing slow and even while surrounded by armed aliens. Illith felt something unfamiliar coil in his thorax. Perhaps. Or fear reshaped into something more dangerous, curiosity. If humans could do this, what else were they capable of? And if the Concord rejected them now, what kind of predators would humans choose to become without anyone watching? The moment of calm shattered when the station lurched sideways, a deep groan reverberating through Gathric Station's superstructure as emergency gravity stuttered and snapped back with bruising force. Ash's head came up instantly, ears flat, teeth bared, not at the Valorans, but at the invisible wrongness rippling through the deck. Somewhere far below, something vital had failed, and the station AI's voice returned, no longer soothing. Structural breach detected in Habitat Ring C. Unknown organism presence confirmed. That was when the real apex predator arrived. Holographic feeds burst into existence over the observation deck, showing torn bulkheads, drifting debris, and a nightmare of chitin spines and grasping limbs forcing its way through corridors built for prey species. The intruder was a Voracine Reaver, an extragalactic bioweapon long thought extinct, drawn to population centers by electromagnetic noise and fear pheromones. It was bigger than Ash, armored like a living battleship, and utterly feral. Screams echoed over the comms. Prey species evacuees scattered in blind panic, triggering exactly the responses the Reaver thrived on. Crix recoiled from the display. That thing cannot be reasoned with. Maya's blood ran cold, not from fear of the Reaver, but from the realization dawning across the Valoran command feeds. Every eye turned from the monster to Ash. The unspoken thought hung heavy in the air, predator versus predator. No, Maya said sharply, stepping in front of Ash as security drones subtly reoriented. You will not weaponize him. We are under attack. Ilith snapped, crest flaring. Your companion may be the only force capable of slowing it. Ash growled, a deep resonance that vibrated through Maya's bones. He could hear the Reaver now, feel it through the station's metal like a distant thunderclap. Every instinct screamed at him to hunt, to confront the challenger tearing apart his territory. His claws flexed, carving sparks from the floor. Maya dropped to her knees, gripping his harness with both hands. Look at me, she whispered urgently. I need you with me. Not lost in it. The deck shook again as the Reaver breached another corridor. Casualty numbers climbed in red along the holograms. Time was collapsing. This is your doctrine, Crick said bitterly. Unleash the predator and pray it chooses correctly. Maya looked up, eyes blazing. No. This is your test. If you force this, you prove you never understood us. The confrontation peaked not with claws or weapons, but with a choice. Ilith hesitated, then made a decision that would echo through Concord history. Stand down, he ordered the security teams. All of them. Gasps rippled through the deck as weapons powered down. The drones withdrew. The energy walls dissolved completely, leaving nothing between Ash and the rest of the station but trust. Ash felt it immediately, the absence of threat, the sudden openness. His growl faded into a low, focused rumble. He turned his head, eyes locking with Maya's. Help, she said simply. That was all. Ash moved. Not in a blind charge, but with terrifying precision. He sprinted for the access corridor as blast doors irised open at Maya's command, his body a blur of controlled power. Maya followed with a strike team, heart pounding, knowing she had just unleashed something that could save thousands, or doom them all. They reached Habitat Ring C to chaos. The Reaver loomed ahead, ripping through fleeing prey species, its screech shredding nerves. Ash skidded to a halt, hackles raised, electricity dancing along his spines as two apex predators assessed each other across shattered metal and drifting debris. The Reaver struck first. Ash met it head-on. The impact was catastrophic. Claws clashed with chitin, bioelectric discharge detonating against alien armor. Ash was thrown back, slammed into a bulkhead hard enough to crater it. Pain flared, but he rose again, snarling, circling, adapting. He wasn't fighting alone. He was fighting for someone. Maya coordinated evac routes, shouted warnings, and did the unthinkable. She ran toward the fight, using herself as an anchor point Ash kept returning to. Each time he retreated, regrouped, he glanced back to ensure she was safe, recalibrating his aggression around her presence. The Reaver didn't understand restraint. That was its weakness. Ash lured it, baiting attacks, drawing it away from civilians, forcing it into narrower corridors where its bulk worked against it. He took wounds, deep gashes, cracked spines, but he never lost control. Every strike was measured. Every retreat deliberate. At the climax, as the Reaver lunged for Maya, Ash made his choice. He intercepted, jaws clamping onto the creature's exposed sensory crest, discharging every volt his glands could produce. The blast lit the corridor white-hot. The Reaver convulsed, screeched once, and collapsed in a heap of smoking chitin. Silence fell, broken only by Ash's ragged breathing. Maya dropped beside him, hands shaking as she pressed against his wounds. You did good, she whispered fiercely. You did perfect. Across the station, Valorans watched in stunned stillness, not at the defeat of the Reaver, but at the sight of a human kneeling beside a wounded apex predator, crying openly as she held him. In that moment, the Concord understood the truth. Humans didn't domesticate apex predators by conquering them. They survived them by earning their loyalty, and by being brave enough to trust it when everything was on the line. The station smelled different after the battle: burned metal, ionized air, and the sharp medicinal tang of emergency sealants. But beneath it all lingered something quieter, almost unsettling, calm. The Voracine Reaver's corpse had been jettisoned into space, its threat reduced to drifting debris and data logs, and Gathrix Station slowly exhaled as systems stabilized and gravity settled into a gentle, familiar pull. In the aftermath, no one quite knew what to do with the silence. Ash lay on a reinforced medbay platform, enormous chest rising and falling in steady rhythm as autodrones worked around him. His wounds were serious but clean. Terran medicine, adapted for worst-case scenarios, responded efficiently. Maya hadn't moved from his side since they arrived. Her hand rested against his fur, fingers curled unconsciously into the warmth, grounding herself in the simple fact that he was alive. Across the transparent partition, Valoran officials gathered in uneasy clusters. No alarms. No weapons drawn. Just watching. Illith stepped forward at last, crest subdued, posture no longer that of a lecturer or commander but of someone approaching something sacred and dangerous. He could have fled, he said softly. After the first impact. Many predators would. Maya didn't look up. So could we, she replied. We didn't. That answer lingered longer than expected. When Ash's eyes finally opened, the reaction rippled through the medbay like a held breath released. His gaze found Maya immediately, tail thumping once despite the restraints. She laughed, a broken, exhausted sound, and pressed her forehead briefly to his. You scared the galaxy, she whispered. Again. Ash sneezed. The humor cracked the tension completely. A few Valorans made startled sounds halfway between laughter and alarm, unsure whether sneezing from a Class 7 predator was reassuring or ominous. Maya grinned at them anyway, daring them to find it frightening. Later, in the emergency council chamber, the Real resolution began. The Concord demanded explanations. Not accusations, those had burned away with the Reaver, but understanding. Data was presented, simulations replayed, physiological readings analyzed in obsessive detail. Yet every chart circled back to the same anomaly. Ash had chosen restraint. He responded to threat escalation by narrowing, not expanding, aggression. Crix admitted reluctantly. That contradicts all known predator response models. Your models assume isolation, Maya said, standing before the council without Ash beside her for the first time. Predators in your data are alone, stressed, and treated as problems to be solved. Ours aren't. Illith inclined his head. You are saying companionship changes biology. Psychology, Maya corrected. Which then changes biology. The council chamber filled with murmurs. Prey domestication had always been about removing danger, blunting horns, dulling instincts, suppressing stress responses. Humanity's approach was the opposite, accepting danger, then building trust strong enough to live beside it. What you saw today, Maya continued, wasn't us unleashing an apex predator. It was an apex predator choosing us. The final vote wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive. The Concord would revise its classifications. Apex predators, under specific bonded conditions, would no longer be listed as uncontrollable threats by default. Human-animal partnerships would be studied, not banned. Exchange programs were proposed, carefully, cautiously, but proposed nonetheless. And perhaps most shockingly, Illith requested something unthinkable only days earlier. I would like to meet him, he said. Properly. When he is recovered. Ash met the Valoran commander 3 days later, sitting calmly while Maya held the leash loosely, more symbolic than functional. Illith approached with visible nerves, crest flickering uncertainly. Ash sniffed, head tilting, then sat, again exposing his back, again offering vulnerability first. Illith reached out with a trembling claw and touched fur still warm with life. I was wrong, he said quietly. Ash wagged his tail. The laughter that followed echoed through the corridor, light and disbelieving, the sound of a worldview cracking open without quite shattering. For the first time, Valoran scientists didn't see a monster or a miracle. They saw a relationship. When the human delegation finally departed Gathrix Station, there were no alarms, no force fields. Just a crowd watching from the observation deck as Ash padded beside Maya, harness polished, posture relaxed. Some waved. One Drell even bowed. As the shuttle detached, Maya glanced back at the station shrinking against the stars. Think they learn anything? She asked. Ash huffed, settling at her feet. She smiled. Yeah. Me too. Out in the dark between systems, the Concorde updated its records. Under humanity's profile, a new line was added, not a warning, not a threat assessment, but a note of hard-earned respect. Humans do not fear apex predators. They befriend them, and in doing so, become something far more dangerous and far more hopeful than anyone expected.